So I just showed you the start of a painting that was very, very wet. Now I will give you a peek at some of the newer things I'm doing. This one has had a few layers on it, and I have put just some things called string gel, and then I just used the paint out of the bottle and made these lines, these teal lines that you see here. And it's hard to see them, but there's some texture in here. There's some string gel texture going on. And that's very, very transparent. So the color underneath will continue to show, and it'll kind of keep when I put more paint on, you'll see how the texture builds up. But I got the string gel like all over the place on this thing. Now, if you look at this piece over here, I did a ton of that. You can see all the texture, all the lines that are rolling through it. So these started back, I have a big piece upstairs where I had, I did a demo for kids one day, one afternoon outdoors. This was when I was in the Quad Cities. So I had a big 60 by 60 inch canvas, and the kids just came up and started playing, you know, with my wet fluid acrylic, right? And their hand, you know, I gave them gloves so they could move things with their hands. And it was just great fun. But it was dark and messy when it was over. So that's what inspired me to start doing these, I don't even know what to call them. It's kind of line art in a sense, and just letting transparent color overlay to build up different colors. And then you have all the play of 3D where things are, there's different, I don't even know how to say this, there's different layers of paint that shows through. And little hidden things that I just love, the little tiny hidden parts. So that's one of the completed ones. This one is in between. And I have another piece that kind of took a different direction, but there's a lot of texture in it. And that's being this one. And right now, I think it has a lot of momentum. But I'm going to build up some more darks because I think it doesn't have enough darks. So, and if you haven't noticed, I'm all about color. I love bright color. I love things that make it look like light is shining on, sunlight shining through. I've tried to move into neutral colors from time to time just to give myself a break, but I always come back to these bright greens and blues and primaries and secondary colors. Okay, so let me think here. I'm gonna need a thing of water. This will be a little different this time. Put it there, let's put it over here. Okay. I'm going to use a brush more on this one than I did on the last one. And pick colors that I know are transparent. Another thing I always try to do, now that I'm been at this for a long time, is get paint that isn't cheap, but is high quality. And Golden paints, and I'm not being paid by Golden to say this, but are my favorites. Very expensive, but you can thin them with their mediums that they put out. And a little goes a long way, and they're 100% acrylic, no fillers. makes things, if you varnish or use other things at the end, it won't damage anything underneath or change the color later. All right, so that's there. A little bit here. And you might be seeing now the way the string gel keeps the paint. You try, or what's the word? Brain dead. Resists. It resists the paint. Remembered. Okay. So I'm just filling in those lines. Take another brush. Jenkins is pretty dark, so let's try. Oh, and I also mix my own paint. That's what I was talking about when I said you can use medium. They have a GAC in 100 through 800, and each one of those acrylic mediums does a little bit different thing, but 100 and 200 are what I use the most, sometimes 800. And it extends the paint, but you don't lose the viscosity and you don't lose the pigment. It might look a little cloudier when it's wet, but when it dries as dark as if it was straight out of the tube. Okay. And then another thing I like to do, that's going to dry a little bit, but I'm going to mess with it anyway. Here, let's take some take my palette knife, just get some action going. There was some of this at the layer underneath. You can still see it right in here. Drag it across the canvas. It fills in the ridges, the low parts of the ridges, and it's stuck on the top. All right, I think we need some. The other thing I use is not fluid. Again, golden, heavy body acrylics. I'm going to put it back here because you guys can't see this. And do some dry brushing. Again, it gives me really great effects. This is a transparent color, but when it goes on thick, it's not that transparent. Don't want to lose all the dark. I want to make sure I leave some of the dark layers underneath. And if I do lose them and I want them back, I'll just go grab some dark color and get them back. So, put that over here. So one of the colors I don't use in my palette is black. But occasionally I like a good Payne's Gray. Payne's Gray has blue in the black. And it's a very nice dark. I've got some purple stuff from underneath, so I'm gonna go grab purple. I'm gonna change brushes again. And go find another brush that's not used. What was I thinking? Purple. Purple. Okay. Now I gotta be careful with the purple, because it will turn anything that's not close to it into mud. You know your color wheel. In fact, I don't think I'm going to use a brush. I'm just going to use a palette knife. That wasn't purple. That was phthalo blue. Oh well. And then phthalo blue I can mix with things, because I got a lot of blue and green going. And I'll go find my purple in a minute. And as you see, I've lost some of the swirly lines where I covered, and then I can bring them back should I want to before it dries. And actually, even after it dries, there's ways to bring it back. So for me, the thing about creating is I get my emotions, leave them all here. I listen to all kinds of different music when I paint. I love blues, I love jazz, rock and roll, alternative rock, you name it, I play it. Occasionally some classical, but very rarely. I need that energy of blues, and alt rock gets a little moody sometimes, so I move to my blues, and well, blues doesn't get moody, but I move to more upbeat songs, and I dance around the canvas. I won't do it today because that will scare you guys, and you'll never watch my videos again. But I gotta have music. Let's see. Now, if I had done this live and I could ask what you guys wanted to see next, because I do that all the time too when I demo, I'd be asking what color I should go to. But I'm thinking, since you don't get to have a say, that I'm going to do some white around here and see how that works as I hold my paintbrushes. And I'm not against buying really expensive paintbrushes and buying cheap paintbrushes, because they all have their reasons. They all have their things that work. And I use weird things that come out of the kitchen. I guess this is just this is a baster. Of course, I'd never use it as a baster again. But you get textures, more texture. It's kind of a comb thing going here. So I got that. And let's get some white out, and I'll show you what I do with that, with this little guy. Which is, I guess you'd call this a putty knife. Anything that can move paint. And as you saw earlier, I use my fingers. And this is a smaller canvas. I've been expanding into much bigger ones than this. But you never know who wants what, so I try to do a variety of sizes. Okay, so now I've got greens and a little bit of blue and the white and the yellow, of course. I have a touch of purple here, touch of purple there. I got a little tiny bit of red, okay? So I always like to, and here's some more purple. I always like to have contrast in these, right? So analogous, if you guys know your color wheel, analogous are things that are next to each other on the color wheel, on the chart, which, you know, yellow to green to blue. And then your complementary are on the other side. So purple is complementary to yellow, and then the red is complementary to green. So I try to throw in some complementary colors at various times when I paint. It's not good to do it at the start, because then you can get mixed, the colors can get mixed up and you get too much mud. But as you move through it, I'll try to add things from time to time. It just depends on how wet the painting is, lots of factors. And sometimes I mess up. But the beauty of acrylic is you can just cover right back over it if you need to. Don't get attached. Things will change. All right. Let's put this here. I never have enough room. So we talked about purple and red. I have a little bit of red. This is a quinacridone, and it's fluids. So I'm going to be just real touchy with this one, because it'll make pink real fast on that. And I may not even touch it. Just let it do its thing, because I kind of like what it's doing. It's got pink. It's doing some real nice things, popping that color underneath over there. Very jewel-like at the moment. And we talked about purple. I gotta go find my purple. One thing I've been trying to do over the years is be more organized. I don't know many artists that are very organized, but I find if I keep my paints in color blocks, then I can find them much easier. And then I know exactly how much I have. I've even inventoried them. I've been so good. All right, so earlier I used that squirt bottle to find it. Okay. So I super love the tendril thing when I get these wet. And how they run wherever they want to run. All right, so I really love the tendril stuff that starts to happen as the paint just kind of goes its own way. And I buy a lot of these shop towels. They're better than paper towel. They last longer. They're got a different absorbency. You can kind of pull and place paint with them. And I'm not against lifting and letting things run. But as you see here with the yellow and the purple, it's getting a little brown, because they will run together and create a different color, of course. So do it sparingly. I don't know if I've said this before, but part of this process is creatively watching paint dry. Can't always control what's going to happen, nor do I want to. beauty in it is seeing what happens. We left this for a couple minutes and let it do its thing. You see I've got a brown going over here from the blue, I mean the purple and the yellow. It's not too muddy. Sometimes it gets pretty muddy, so just move it around a little bit. And hold on to that. I'm not certain of what the red is doing. It just feels a little disjointed. So I'm gonna kind of mix it up a little. Some of my other artwork, I love using dots. I do a lot of pointillism drawings. For some reason, with acrylic, I don't like always what the dot thing does. Not sure what that's all about. Let's move that and make it more feathery. Oops, I changed it up real good right there. If you guys know what ephemeral is, that's my paintings. They are going to change and they're only temporary. What you see is not the end product quite often. It's going to change and become something else. Love that. But it might not stay. Alright, let's get a little water. Remember where I put it. Looks pretty good. This stuff's dried enough that I don't think it's going to run much. Still think it has some good movement. Definitely swirly. Color balance. All these things I look for, even though it's abstract. Still want to bring in the eye and let it have places to rest. But also move through. All right. brown's gonna go away after all. And I think it's good. And we're gonna let it dry. Things will change still a little bit, but for the most part, I think we got a swirly dirly thing. Who knows what we'll call it? Almost touched that. See? Touched that. That's me. I can't stop. It's called dinking, I guess. I am notorious. Oh boy. Did it now. Now I really have to dink. Okay. Painting number 2, done for now.